my name is Michelle, and I have Nicholas Black here with me, and he is the author of We Want to Publish Your Memoir. Is that right? Is that correct?
Yeah, and about 20 other of those. Yeah.
About 20 other of those, right?
Yeah.
And I started reading that last week, and I've read a lot of books on Amazon because I have the Kindle Unlimited. And so I can download like all those free. And I don't know if yours was on Kindle Unlimited or not, but
I think it is. I think those are.
You think it is? Okay.
Yeah.
And I started reading it, and I actually spent the entire weekend at Barnes & Noble doing 2 of those exercises that you gave in the book. And,
Yep.
you know, I never had it laid out like that because I have, and I was thinking about this as a memoir because I started something on my website, and it was kind of like an interactive memoir. I wanted to start at the beginning, and I kind of put YouTube videos in of songs, and it's like my life, but kind of using different things. And then I was like, how are you going to publish that? Can't really publish it. You got to leave it on your website. So I was trying to think of a way to publish it. So that's why I got that's why I was interested. But the thing that was the most amazing to me is that I never did that before. I never read first 5 chapters of a book.
Yeah.
And then, right, so I started doing that with a very popular author whose book is #1 right this week, right? I couldn't get past the 5th chapter. I was like, done. I don't even want to read it. Like,
it's rough, isn't it?
And then I was like, oh my God, and it was so amazing. And then I got another author, Nicholas Sparks, got one of his books, first 5 chapters in, hooked, and I look at his books as kind of fluff, kind of, the movie,
yeah.
You know what I mean? But I could have read it. I was like, okay, I've never read his books before, but I could have read it. I could have continued.
It's readable. It's readable fluff.
It's readable fluff. I'm a little interested. And then what was the next one that I read? Oh, James Patterson.
Okay.
And of course, I was hooked. 5 chapters in, I was hooked. So I only got to 3 books. But I wanted to know how did you think of that? Like, how did you think, so basically you have always heard about the first chapter, being your, you got to get past the first chapter. But I think you're right. It's the first 5 that really hook, that really kind of make a decision. And for now, because of Kindle, don't you think people can just as easily just put away a book? I mean, you start reading,
People read less now that they have more choices because it's in psychology, it's the tyranny of choice. So if you had 3 choices, you'd pick 1 or 2. If you have 3,000 choices, you can do a little of 100 choices and you still don't, people don't make decisions. They defer decision making. So I think people read on the aggregate more material, but less to completion.
Interesting. Because I used to have when I'd pay $20 for a book, because I would always buy hard.
You would read it.
I read it. I would stick through it. Okay. Sometimes I was happy about it.
Because you laid out that $20.
Right. Sometimes I was happy about it. Sometimes I was pissed off that that I got to the end and still didn't like it. But now with Kindle or, audio, I do a lot of audio books because I do a lot of driving. And if I'm not hooked I'm pretty ADD about getting hooked on, a book. So I kind of get that. But how does it work then if you want to write nonfiction? How does that...
So it's the same thing. So nonfiction is just fiction with some facts thrown in there enough that you're not a liar.
Okay, so if I was going to write a memoir, how do you start, do you suggest starting at the beginning, I was born on, or do you kind of, I don't know, kind of doesn't, to me, that's not the most interesting way you could do it.
Well, you start with an outline of all the pertinent facts, okay? And so literally, assume that each sentence would be a chapter. Okay, and so you just write that on 1 page, and then you look at that and go, okay, now if I was going to film this as a film, how would I want to see it? Because you're still telling, storytelling is still creating a film, right? You're just having to do it with words, what we do with cameras.
Right.
So you're still telling a visual story. You're just explaining to them that story. You can't just show a picture of a bear. You got to be like, this big bear is about 8 feet tall, came out from behind this tree. That's all information we would know in 1/10 of a second watching a film.
Right.
So you have to do that too. So fiction's the same way, though. I mean, you do the same thing for fiction, only you're making everything up. It's all lies.
Right.
Whereas Nonfiction is the truth, but you're just coloring it.
Right.
So you know what? You're creating that image. You want good fiction and good nonfiction read the same. You can't really tell the difference.
But okay, when I was thinking about writing a book, it was more about I wanted to phrase it in a way that, like, I felt like I lived, like it was. I had a very abusive childhood. It was,
Okay.
off the charts, right? And I got to this place, and I thought, I did all the what everybody, counseling, all that crap, but I figured out a way on my own, okay, of overcoming the trauma. Okay, and I wanted to write a book about it, but sort of like a memoir, but more like a book of, like, I don't want to say how to, because then that sounds so cliche in a way. But you know what I'm saying? Like, make it like it's a story, but it's also instructional, I guess. In a
right.
Way, But
I would still tell it as a story, but then I would, important things, I would set them aside in the chapters. Or at the end of the chapters, hey, think about this. This helped me deal with it. Parting thoughts. Right. Maybe from each chapter separate. I wrote a book kind of like that called it was basically ways to deal with life decision making. It was the mental training, the art of life and death decision
making. I saw that. I did not get to read it. I did see that because I was finishing the other one and then I got stuck on Purg and but I did see that on your website.
Purg is the myth was interesting because
Wait, you're
but it's broken into little chunks that give people kind of teachable moments.
Interesting. I will go back and look at that because I did see that on your website, and I was like, "Oh, that looks really interesting." Because I'm always interested in that kind of stuff, and to see how you did it. And you don't want to copy. It's not like you want to go copy, but it's also like you give such good instruction in your book about how to go about it. But I felt like though reading the fiction books, should you go back and do the nonfiction like you did the fiction? With the first 5 books, like, should you go back and do that exercise?
Yeah, but I still think that fiction is your guide towards all writing.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because fiction, the cuffs are off. You have no rules. You can do whatever you want. So, you should only be constrained in nonfiction by the truth of those moments. Otherwise, it should still be a fun, exciting, fictional story. And you can do all that with the way you describe a scene. Like, you can make a scene really uncomfortable. And I think I may give this example, but like, there's a guy waiting at the bus stop, and then the lady walks by, and the guy starts walking behind her. Not super interesting. Or there's a guy waiting at the bus stop, and he's fidgeting, and beneath his feet are 10 used up cigarette butts. So now that same thing with that extra little part about the cigarette butts means he's really been waiting for her to walk by.
Right.
This wasn't like an accidental thing. So that shows you that there could be a conspiracy behind it, or there could be some kind of motive and all these kinds of things. It's only just one extra sentence.
Right.
So just think, what would it on a TV show that I how give me as much information as possible, little use. Because that's how you streamline. There's tons of stories going on at the same time, and you have, in an hour-long show, 46 minutes to get it done.
Correct.
So that's the way you should write also. You can tell more story. You don't have to, some people are like, I just got to get through pages. Well, it's not really that. You got to get through the story.
Right. Yeah, and, well, I mean, your book on how to write a book, I mean, I got through that it was like very readable, you put lots of great examples in. I mean, it was easy to read and very instructional, and when I got to the end of it today, I was like, okay, I still have steps to go. I haven't finished all the exercises yet because I was...
The exercises they're really good. And you can do that with TV also. You can watch, once you understand how TV shows are broken down, you can watch them, 22 minutes and then commercials thrown in between. Right. And for an hour-long show on network, you might see a 44-minute show probably with about 16 minutes worth of commercials. So you're going to have clear Act 1, 2, 3, 4, and sometimes like an Act 5 or what they would call a tag, that little teaser part at the end of a show.
Yes.
And if you have like the SVOD model, which is the straight to video on demand, like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, stuff like that, you have a little bit more time. So your hour-long episode may actually be anywhere from 45 minutes to a full hour.
Right.
So you have a little bit more flexibility. But you're still going to see those act breaks. So that's what you do. So you watch the first, say 5 to 10 minutes of a show, then watch the middle 5 to 10 minutes, then watch the last 5 to 10 minutes and see how they wrap the show up, see how they wrap up all the storylines. You're just doing the same thing for books. When I didn't, I didn't know anything about writing, but music is the same way, right? So you have your hook, and music is a pattern, and it follows, and they build it, and then they pay you off with a repeating pattern that's very satisfying.
Right.
So that's all you're doing with your writing is you're building, little payoff, find something that they can hook to and pay them off again, and then big payoff at the end that's satisfying, and they don't feel like they wasted their time. So
yeah, some shows you can really see that too. Some shows are really obvious,
Most shows are really obvious. Look at your, procedurals, your CSIs and stuff.
Oh my
gosh.
By
the way, CSI is the most popular show in the history of history.
Yeah, I used to watch Castle, and I'd sit there and I'd be like, okay, this minute, this. As soon as they took a commercial, I'm like, there's the killer, we're done.
I actually saw him at the coffee shop a couple weeks ago.
Did you?
We were sitting at the table. Yeah, I was like, hey, Castle.
Are you in LA or are you in Dallas?
Yeah, I'm in LA.
Oh, okay, because you have a Dallas number, right?
I have a Dallas number. Yeah, I moved out to LA about 3 years ago to convert over from novel writing to film and TV.
I actually wrote a screenplay once. I haven't done it.
It's fun, huh?
I did. I just wrote it. I wrote it out. I got a book on how to write a screenplay. Wrote it out. I mean, and that's when I started to realize that shows were the same as because I'd go to movies and be like, oh, there's where this is. There's where I used to tear apart movies like that. I'm pretty good at that. I'm pretty good at the movies and the TV. The whole thing,
story is something that's been consistent throughout time.
And absolutely.
And so we're all trained to see. We know good and bad, even if you don't know how to break it down. You still know, like someone that knows nothing about story structure can still walk out of a movie and go, that sucked. Or they can, right? Or they can walk out of Gladiator and go, that was awesome. I don't even know why, but it was. Right?
Yes.
And so, we all know good and bad, even if we don't know how to break it down. What separates you as a writer is knowing, okay, I know what good and bad is. I need to be able to recreate good.
Okay.
So it's just being a good storyteller, and with fiction, you're unencumbered. You can just make up stuff, and as long as it's not too ridiculous or cliche, you're good.
Right, and where would you like to? You said to stick to an outline. What do you suggest to look for an outline, especially for today for the memoir part? I haven't really ever looked at my life. I'm 52. So I've lived more than half my life, probably. And, to look at it as an outline, I guess I kind of just want to stick to one area. So I guess I just take that and then try to break it down into acts. But even though you're going to write
but would you watch a movie about that one segment of your life?
I don't know.
Does that give you enough? Does it give you enough context to appreciate? I have to
think about that.
I mean, if you had watched one act of Forrest Gump, would it have been as interesting?
No. But that was Forrest Gump.
No. Well, but still. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you want to tell a story in a way that it'll satisfy most of the people most of the time, you just got to make sure you're giving them enough context. Well, we have another phrase for it, but give a crap. Why would I give a crap about this story?
Right.
If you don't give me enough of that,
right.
WGAS is the way we do it. But so if you can't create that, then people are going to check out. So you need to give them enough to care about the story.
Okay. I have to think about that.
When you see a movie, you see a movie and the main guy goes and does this thing, and you're like, so what? Like Steve Jobs, great actors, terrible movie. Because I don't care about a guy that's worth $400 million who has an estranged relationship with his ex and his daughter. I don't feel for that dude. I don't feel sorry for you, man.
Right.
You got different problems than I've got.
Right. It's true.
You know, so that
was a very unsatisfying. Well, I like the first one better, but they were just unsatisfying because you're right. You know, it's like
right. Because
okay.
I can't empathize with those people.
Right.
Oh, you don't know what you're gonna do with your $400 million. Yeah, you know, we'll get on a yacht and talk about how we share those same problems. I knew a guy once who was telling me that the water pressure on his G4 jet, he was mad because he couldn't get it to be the same as like a hotel room when he would travel. And I was like, what kind of problems this guy has are not the same problems that I have.
Right, and everybody likes an overcoming story. You know, like when you go to the movies, everybody likes an overcoming book. You know, like how did you... I guess I wanted to make it more instructional, but then I'm thinking, well, maybe it's better just said. I don't know. I have to figure that out. I have to figure out how it's better.
I mean, you don't have to figure that out in the beginning. Okay. You know, writing is rewriting.
Okay.
And this is another thing that I learned is that when you write a book, you're not done. You need to, in your mind, assume that you're going to write that book and then you're going to rewrite it 10 more times.
Oh, okay.
With a script, you write a script and you're going to rewrite it 30 times before it ever sees TV.
I know. Like I said, when I wrote my screenplay, when I went back and watched people talk about their even James Patterson said like his screenplays used to get like chopped up and, you know, he'd go to the movie thing and be like, I didn't even recognize it. You can't get attached to it, you know, you can't get attached to because they'll rewrite it right there while the actors are there. So it's like, okay, well.
Yeah, and it'd be like, I like your main character. Let's try it as a 16-year-old girl. That's it. That's the whole script has changed. Okay, you blow up the script. Go rewrite it. And it changes everything. But you do that to flesh out the best version of the story.
You know what? The screenwriters do get paid. You get paid in the beginning.
You get paid. Yeah, but it's the same for your book. It's the same for your book. So you still want to tell the best story possible. You're just going to be constrained by the rules, and the rules in your situation are like the facts of a case of law. You have to follow the facts of a case of law, but you know what happens inside a courtroom it's not justice. It's just a very clever argument by two different people, and one's more clever than the other, and at the end of the day, someone goes to jail or doesn't.
Interesting.
And the truth is marginally involved.
Okay. I like that. And then I saw at the end of your book, are you still doing that? Are you still publishing? I mean, are you still in the publishing business since you're doing that?
So what I mostly do is when people contact me, what I did is I wrote that book. It's from another book I'd written about how to write books.
Okay.
And so I just took that, truncated it, and created those little books, and I copied it about 10, 15 times and put it for different genres. Because really all I wanted was that book to end people up reading my other stuff.
And it worked, in my case.
Yeah, so it worked. So usually when people come to me, I'm like, did you read the book? They're like, yeah. They're like, I want to publish. Okay, cool. You don't need me. You can publish on your own. You don't need a publisher anymore. That's over with.
That's what I was trying to figure out because I was like, okay, you don't really need a pub. But then I was confused because you can go right into Amazon, upload it as an ebook. You know, you don't need...
Yeah, I have an agent for fiction and an agent for nonfiction, and they've done 0.
Okay.
And on my own, I've probably sold I don't know, in the last 5 years, I've sold over maybe 120, 130,000 books. But, you know, I've got lots of books out there. But
you do.
The point is, I'm not waiting for the call from my agent like, oh, I think we have a deal.
Right.
Because you'd wait forever.
Right.
So, and they still, like idiots, that old brick and mortar mentality is still there. Like they think they're thumbing their nose at us. And I got one of my agents was kind of like, well, I just don't like the way this book went. And I was like, well, I sold 10,000 copies of it, so I guess we're not all right.
I know, and I was reading some of your reviews on Perg, and everybody's like, why is this not a movie? Why is this not a TV series? Why is this, your reviews are amazing, which is what I was like, okay, it's not my genre. But then I started reading it, and I was like, of course, I have to say last night, about 2 a.m., when I started to get a little scared, so I was like, okay, I'm going to put this down.
Wait, how far are you? I don't know how far are you into it, but it gets much darker. But I try to keep it kind of, not disgusting, but it definitely gets dark. I mean, it is heaven and hell.
It is. And I started, I was like, okay, I'm getting a little creeped out now. We're just going to put this till the sun comes up, and then, I'll read more. And I did. But it was just funny because it isn't I usually don't read, but I have watched Supernatural. So I am, I did get it to a different level, and I like it. I have to say, I like it better. I was like, I want to live in this world. I want to live in this world where, I've got angels like somewhere here, and I want to live there. I want to live in that world. So,
yeah, I always liked. I was never a very religious person, but I liked the idea of complete free will. And if that's violated, which if you follow physics, it has never been violated ever. However, in this funny world that we created, if you break the law, the one law which is free will, you got to pay for it. And so that's like the whole thing. That's the whole thing behind that is there may be all this extra stuff, but the minute they put their finger in front of a bus and stop it, everybody's going to have to pay for it.
It's very cool. It's a very cool concept. I love it. And so anyway, we're going to do this again when I finish it because I have questions about it. Maybe they'll be answered, and then maybe we could talk about how that happened and how great that was.
Yeah.
But
and there's another book in that series coming, but I was going to wait until either I sold the show as a TV show or like however we move forward with it. But there is a kind of a fifth book, which is called The God Wars. And that's
interesting.
But that won't make sense until you're through the fourth one.
Yeah, and that's what I want to talk to you about because the fiction that I have up here, okay, is a series. It's not a book. And that's what I like about it.
Yeah, you should always write a series.
Right, and that's what's there is a series because I love when we were, well, I don't know how old you are, but when I was growing up, that the book series was Flowers in the Attic. And V.C. Andrews, she must have written 10 of them, okay? And like every time a book, we didn't have Harry Potter, but every time one of those books, kind of dark actually.
You got
it. Look back, like you were there, I was there. I was every book that came out in that series, and I was hooked on the characters, and I think that's awesome to make it that you're hooked on those characters in another story as the books go, kind of progressive, kind of like Harry Potter. She of course, she nailed that, but she did a good job. But it's like that's what I always think about, and I was so happy. That's why I picked that one out of your other books. I was like, oh, I want to read the series one, and see how that goes. So.
Yeah, I try to write everything in series. So that was a series. See Jack Die is a series.
Oh, is it? I didn't know if See Jack Die was a series. Okay.
Mm-hmm. See Jack Die and See Jack Hunt, and then Chasing Darkness and Chasing Daylight.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, nice. So that's a little bit younger, real dark though. It's actually probably not for a younger crowd, but it's a younger kind of a book. It's kind of in that. I wanted to write something dark, kind of Twilighty, but where everybody wasn't a pussy.
Right. No kidding. And that's it. And the great thing about Amazon is like, so when you write a book, you publish it, and you can keep writing. You don't have to wait you're not sitting around waiting to see if somebody likes it or you got it out there,
Yeah, and then it's how hard you want to market your books. The one thing that I don't do that I should is half of writing is marketing. Mm-hmm. I don't do any marketing because I feel like I would rather keep getting content out there, and then at some point when I do hit a home run, that'll shower onto all the other things.
Right.
So that's my theory. I don't know if time will tell if it proves to be the best system or if I should just be heavily marketing one book. You could argue for both sides.
You could, and I think that I always thought that if I ever did something awesome, I would get a marketer because I'm not interested in being on Facebook and Twitter and everything you got to do.
But that's important.
I know, but it's not my thing. I'm a bad social media person.
Oh yeah, I worked with a coloring book artist, Cynthia Van Edwards, and nice. She does adult coloring. Like. Some of them have like curse words and these really ornate pictures and stuff. They're actually really cool books. Like one of them is the PMS coloring book.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I met her at a little writing thing, and I actually helped her. I help her market. Now, I don't do any marketing for my own books.
Right.
But I help her do all of her marketing.
Oh, awesome.
So it's like, oh, Cynthia Van Edwards. Well, people hit me up on Facebook like, hey, Nick, what's her next thing? I'm like, oh, Cynthia's got this. Cynthia's got that. So like I'm doing, and I wonder if I should do that for my own books.
I know. I wonder how many I could, but I do. I'm happy that you keep writing. So I enjoy your books a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue on with that book on, to write the memoir. I'm going to continue on with the exercises, and I'm going to finish Purg, and then I'd love to talk to you again.
Definitely.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for talking with me. It was so much fun. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay.
We'll
Have
talk
a great
soon.
day. All right. Thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.